Why do we find it so hard to seek help? Why do we find it so hard to fit in society? Why is it that we feel like we can't lead happy and confident lives? Well, that's because of mental health stigmas. Hello, all my mindful seekers. Let's talk about this. First, you might be saying to yourself, what is a stigma? A stigma refers to society's disapproval, or when society places shame on people who live with mental health illnesses, or shame them for seeking help for their emotional distress. You know why this is important? Because this prevents people from seeking help. It prevents them from feeling like they can live their lives the way they need to live it without people constantly judging them. One of the things that makes me think about this is it could make people feel like they can't get help or seek help is because more often than usual, people that do crime or do dangerous things always say, oh, it's because I'm mentally unstable. It's because I just didn't know what I was doing. So this makes people think that someone with a mental health illness is dangerous or crazy or incompetent rather than being unwell. It is also easy for people to mock or to call people weak when they seek help because of the mental health stigmas. They are often incorrectly stereotyped that people that have a mental health illness can be violent and can lash out on people. And this is because of society. This is because of the news and social media that makes it seem like having a mental health illness is a problem rather than saying that people with a mental health illness are just like me and you. They are not people to fear. They are not people who are violent. It actually turns out that people that have mental health illnesses are the victims of stuff and violence that happen. They are not the people who are creating the violence. And I think that this just allows people to quickly judge other people because of the way they are talking about their mental health or because they're suffering from it. And this has to stop. I know that it's in this day and age, it is getting easier for people to talk about it, but there are so many people that are still in the closet with their mental health because there are people out there who make them feel lower than they should. You might be asking yourself, well, why does stigma exist? It exists because it is an arise from the lack of understanding of a mental health disorder or illness. And also because some people just have negative attitudes and beliefs towards it. This can lead to discrimination against people with mental health illness. Some even professionals who work with mental health patients have negative beliefs about the people they are caring for, like what they're going through isn't real and isn't really what they're going through and they're just lying and they don't believe them, and it has to stop. We need to show people with mental health illnesses love and care, and we need to show them how to take care of themselves, how to talk about it without being judged, how they can be themselves, and their mental health illness doesn't have to stop them from that. People are scared to try new things. They're scared to go to therapy. Why are they scared to go to therapy? Because people will call them crazy because they are misinformed. They cause the people pain because they're doing it, and it prevents that person from getting help. Somebody can be struggling, and because you are misunderstanding their diagnosis, you're shaming them for seeking help. Seeking help is not weakness. It is your biggest strength. It is the way to take care of yourself. Self-care is therapy and taking care of yourself and thinking about you. That's why the media plays such a big role. When a celebrity commits suicide, oh, it's because they were mentally unstable. Okay, were they really mentally unstable? Or were they suffering from other things that you just didn't know about because they didn't share it publicly? Okay, maybe yes, they were suffering from depression or mental health illness, but that isn't the main reason of why they did what they did. It could be so many different things, but that's the one thing you're highlighting. And when you're highlighting that one thing, it makes people who are struggling with a mental health illness feel like if they seek help for what they're going for, you're going to judge them because of these other people or these celebrities that are going through it and have done what they've done. Again, that's why I say, when people do something that's violent, they kill people, they rob somebody, they break into a store, their first line of defense is that, oh, I was mentally ill. Why do they do that? Because it has their sentence either lower, or because they're mentally ill, they go to a psychologist or psychotherapy, or, oh, I was mentally insane. Okay, now you're into a mental hospital. It's because it's a different way to get out of the thing and the punishment for what they actually did. And that's just not right for us who are actually struggling and going through it. So you might be saying, well, how does a stigma affect people with mental health? Oh, I'll tell you. A person who is stigmatized may be treated differently and excluded from many things that the rest of society take for granted. They may become labeled by their illness, and some become vulnerable to prejudice and discrimination. Dealing with the effects of being prejudiced or incrimination is distressing and can damage people with mental health even more. Many people say dealing with this is harder than dealing with the mental health illness itself. It's the judgment and the bad talk people do to them that is worse than having to deal with it to themselves. So not only am I dealing with my mental health illness, but it is 10 times harder because society is making me feel way worse, or the people around me are making me feel way worse, or they're judging me so quickly about what I'm dealing with. And now that's 10 times harder with how I'm already feeling on top of how I'm feeling about myself. People with a mental health illness may also take on board with the prejudiced views by others, which can affect their self-esteem, can make them feel so much worse about themselves, can make them feel down about themselves, can make them have even more negative thoughts and spiral even harder. They can feel ashamed or embarrassed to be dealing with what they're dealing with. And this can lead them to not seeking help, withdrawing from society, to drinking alcohol or having drug abuse. And lastly, the worst thing is that even contributes to people committing suicide. So here I am dealing with the mental health. And now here's the mental health stigmas around it. And now people outside of my life are making me feel worse and are discriminating against me and judging me. And now I'm 10 times harder on the shame and the embarrassment of what I'm going through. And now I just don't want to live my life, and I don't want to be on this planet anymore. And it's sad that people are losing their lives and taking their lives because the people around them are making them feel so bad, and then they're making themselves so bad, and they're spiraling so hard that just life at that point is just not even worth it. It's not even worth living another day, living in a world that can't accept me for how I am. This can contribute to them missing out on work, or being bullied, or being excluded from social groups, or becoming a victim of violence. I think it's one of those things to think about is that there are so many celebrities nowadays that are getting praise for talking about it, for getting praise for telling people what they're going through and how they're going through. Okay, if you're going to do that for them, you need to do that for us, just as regular people who are suffering from it. So don't judge me when somebody else is going through it too. When you're showing them the love and the care and the compassion towards them, you need to show that towards me. If you know I'm struggling, then you need to show me the love and care that you would show somebody else that is a celebrity. And if you told them that they need to take care of themselves, you need to show that to me too. It isn't different for anybody who's struggling for mental health disorder. We want to feel loved and cared for, and the compassion for what we're going through. We want you to understand, even though it's hard for some of you to understand. We want you to learn. We want to teach you what we're going through. We would love for you to understand what we're going through and how we feel, so you know what we're dealing with every single day. We want you to care for us. We want you to reach out for us. We want you to take care of us. So some of the things you can do to help cope with the stigmas is to get treatment. You may be resentful to admit that you need treatment. And again, asking for treatment and asking for help is not a weakness. I have a whole episode about that, so please go back and listen to it because it's not a weakness, it's a strength. Don't let your fear of being labeled as mentally ill prevent you from seeking help. Treatment can provide you relief by identifying what's wrong and reducing the symptoms that interfere with your life and daily activities. So please, if you are struggling, seek help. That is going to be so important to you. Don't let the stigmas create self-doubt and shame. Stigma doesn't just come from others. You may mistakenly believe that your condition is a sign of personal weakness or that you should be able to control it without any help. Seeking counseling, educating yourself about your condition, and connecting with others who also have the same mental health illness can help you gain self-esteem and overcome the destructive self-judgment. Don't isolate yourself. If you have a mental health illness, you may be resistant to telling anybody about it. Your friends, your family, your coworkers, the members of your community can offer you support about your mental health illness. Reach out to people that you can trust for compassion, support, and understanding. One of the biggest things with dealing with a mental health illness is feeling very isolated and feeling very alone, but you are never alone. That's why I created this podcast. That's why I'm openly talking about these things, because more people need to be aware and more people need to realize that they need to be more compassionate to the people that are struggling with it and be willing to understand what those people are going through before judging them and making them feel 10 times worse. You judging them is not helping them, and it's not helping themselves, because they're going to start to believe that what they're dealing with is something that is just going to overtake them and they can never be normal or live a normal life or never be happy, and they're just going to be alone forever. So please, if you have somebody that's struggling in your life, encourage them to seek help, encourage to understand, and love and have compassion for them. This is not to acute yourself with your illness. You're not an illness. So instead of saying, I'm bipolar, say, I have bipolar disorder. So instead of saying, I'm depressed, say, I am dealing with depression. Don't identify yourself as your illness. You are not your illness. You are just someone who struggles with it. Another thing you could do is to join a support group. Find a local place and a support group in your area. It is going to help you so much more to reach out to other people who understand what you're going through and to find that love and care and compassion that you need from other people who also know what's going on and what you're struggling with. This is another way for you not to feel so alone. You can get help at school, find programs and plans to help someone who's struggling. When you can find programs within your school that educate you on what you're going through and educate the people around you, then it can be so much more helpful for you to understand what's going on and to teach other people what's going on. And speak out against the stigma. Consider expressing your opinions at events, in letters to editors, or on the internet. It can help instill courage in others facing the similar challenges and educate the public about mental health. Others' judgments almost always stem from the lack of misunderstanding rather than the information based on the facts. So learning to accept your condition and recognize what you need to do to treat it, seeking support and helping educate others is going to make a big difference. That's why I created this podcast. That's why I create a platform around mental health. That's why I write posts about it and share my struggles, because I want to make people more aware of what people are going through. I want to make people more aware of what people struggle with and how they struggle and how they feel. I want people to understand more and to learn more about what we're going through and how we feel and what they can do to help. I want to educate people more so they aren't out there putting stigmas on people who have mental health illness, who aren't saying we're violent or we're lazy or we're always sad or we can't live a normal life and be happy. Because when you misunderstand, you misjudge. And that's just not with mental health, that's with anything. When you don't understand why somebody's doing what they're doing, it's going to be easy to judge them and put this label on them of saying, oh, this is how they are and this is why the way they are, and it's not true. So yes, with a lot of celebrities, they're making mental health more something to talk about, but besides that, I think it should be something that's just talked about regularly and talked about with the people that are actually struggling from it, like me and others who have to deal with it every single day. It's important for you to reach out to them to understand, and maybe if you have someone in your life who's struggling with a mental health illness and you don't quite understand, you can reach out to them and say, hey, I'd like to understand more what you're going through. Can we maybe talk about it? And how can I help you? Or is there things in place that I say that trigger you, or things that I do that put you down and I didn't realize I'm doing it? Because it can be very important for your friends and family members to have the strength to understand what you're going through and to have the strength and care and compassion to love you no matter how you come to them with your problems or the actions you do or the responses or the emotions that come with what you're dealing with every day, because personally they really just don't know. So I would love for people to just really understand what the stigmas are around mental health and how we should treat them, and how important it is to just be cautious about what you say to people and how you judge people and how you react to people, and how we need to just be more caring and loving and compassionate to everybody in the world, because you never know what somebody's struggling with, and you might never realize that your one act of kindness can help somebody out and turn their whole day around when they're struggling very heavily with what they're struggling with, whatever mental health illness they're struggling with. So if you're somebody who's struggling today, you are loved, and I hear you, and I am here for you, and I understand, and I am here to try to help make this world a better place and to help people understand more of what you're struggling with and what I'm struggling with. And I just want you to always know that you are never alone and that I love you. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. You know what would be so cool? If you guys could share, like, comment my episodes. It is so helpful to know what you guys like and what you guys want to hear, and it'll help my podcast get out there more if you're liking it and sharing it, so other people can come by and also be able to hear episodes that might help them too. So I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye!